going back to school here on the Tri-State College Basketball Podcast as we start season number 4. My name is Bryan DeNovellis, and just an idea that I came up with to bring the podcast on the road, and what better way to start than with my good friend, my old friend from our South Catholic days in the South End of Hartford, Anthony Latina. He's been kind enough to invite us here on the campus of Sacred Heart University back to school. Anthony, good to see you, my friend.
Thanks for having me. Very excited.
I'm excited to be here on campus. I feel like I'm Rodney Dangerfield, going back to school. And it's just so great to be here and so nice to see all this construction going on around campus. It's an exciting time to be at Sacred Heart. It's
a really exciting time. Whenever anyone asks me about Sacred Heart and my time here as a coach, I always tell people how lucky I am, how grateful I am to be here at this point in the school's history. Our growth in the last 10 years has been nothing short of amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, we've grown to be the second largest Catholic university in the North in New England, behind just Boston College. We've had our biggest class for the seventh or eighth straight year. We broke 2,000 incoming freshmen for the first time, and the school's just really growing. I mean, every time you come here, there's new construction, there's growth, there's energy, there's enthusiasm. So it's a wonderful place. I feel a great responsibility because a lot of people don't know this unless you come to the campus. So as the basketball coach and probably one of the more visible sports here, I take a lot of responsibility in trying to make sure people see what a great place this is, because sometimes the only thing they see is the men's basketball program. And so anytime I get a chance to talk about how great this place is, and I encourage everyone to come visit because it's an awesome place. I have friends in Fairfield County that will come here, have never visited, and can't believe what they've seen. So
it's beautiful.
Yeah, it's a wonderful place.
Yeah, I mean, you go back, like you said, 10 years, 20 years. I mean, it looks nothing like it did then.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and you've been here for a lot of this. You're beginning year number 11 as a head coach, and you spent 8 years as an assistant.
Yeah, so year number 19.
Can you believe when you started here that you'd be here 19 years?
No, actually, when you come in as an assistant, you always expect, like, hey, everything is temporary, and everything is temporary in life, but to be here at one place for 19 years, and such a special place, I feel very fortunate. I've been blessed with great leadership. We have great administration, from our president to our vice president to our athletic director. I've had 3 different athletic directors. All 3 have been outstanding. Our current athletic director, Judy Enriquio, is a star in the business. She's brought an energy to this department, and we're thriving. We won a Commissioner's Cup, which is the award that is given to the athletic department with the highest points in terms of success on the field, court, and other arenas, and we won it for the 7th or 8th time.
Wow!
So we fancy ourselves as the standard in the Northeast Conference as an athletic department and as a university, and we're excited about that, and we carry that label with great pride, and hopefully we can continue to do that, and hopefully men's basketball can contribute to that this season.
Yeah, listen, you were a part of 2 teams, and I think it was 2007, 2008, that made it to the NEC Finals, the championship game. Haven't been back since, but boy, I mean, you've been consistently right there, getting to the semifinals. Yeah. How about, building off of last year? You're probably one of the oldest teams in experience in the Northeast Conference, and from what I'm seeing so far, might be the preseason favorite.
Well, it's interesting. So, we've been to the semifinals 3 of the last 4 years. We're the only team in the conference that's done that. But the ultimate validation is winning. So we haven't been able to do that, winning the whole thing. But we've had a great deal of consistency the last 5 years, despite losing our best player just about every year. So I take a lot of pride in that. But it's hopefully time to take that next step and win the whole thing. And we've been close. We've been knocking on the door. And hopefully this is the year we take that next step. I do think we'll be picked to win the league. Mostly at this level, you're picked to win the league based on what you have coming back. We're a very old team. not only are we the oldest team in the conference, we're probably one of the oldest teams in the country. We have 2 6th-year guys, 3 5th-year guys, 3 4th-year guys. So we have 8 guys on our roster that have played 4 years or more of college basketball.
Right.
So Ken Palm, who's the analytics website, does the most experienced teams in the country. It hasn't come out yet. I can't imagine we're not in the top 5 in the country.
Right.
So
Right.
Now being experienced is one thing. You need to be good and experienced, and our experienced players are talented, and they've seen a lot. So they've had a fair degree of success. So we feel very good about our team, about our culture, about our roster. It's going to take some sacrifice. Some of our guys are used to playing a ton. Their roles might be reduced just because we have so many guys. And I think that'll be a big part of our success is will we have enough guys to sacrifice for the good of the team? Because, we have 13 guys on scholarship. I mean, we have one player sitting out. The 12 guys on scholarship, I could see any one of those 12 being in the rotation. So, and we're not playing 12 players. So it's going to take some sacrifice from players to for this to work. And so that's part of our challenge and their challenge. But we have good enough players to be a major factor. So we're excited about that. And, I don't know if being picked to win the league is good or bad. Coach Bike always used to say, I'd rather be picked first than last. But at the end of the day, it probably doesn't really matter.
Right. I think once you're on the court, I think the guys forget about all that.
No question. But we embrace
you're not
that.
Thinking about where you were.
We embrace the expectation. I hope we're picked first. I want I want our guys to believe that, and I think they do. And hopefully we can make the coaches profits and finish where we get picked.
Right. And it's not where you start; it's where you finish. Did you catch the Bill Walton 30 for 30?
No, I have not seen it.
Did you know it was out?
No.
I happened to be flipping around the other night, and I'm like, what is this? So I hit the info bar, and it's 4 parts, 4-hour-long 30 for 30s on Bill Walton. And listen, I knew he was a great player. I knew he was an MVP. I knew he was, had a multitude of injuries throughout his career. And unfortunately, we'll never know how good he could have been. But part 4, he gets to the Celtics. And here's my point. He gets to the Celtics, and they knew, Bird and Kale. I mean, these guys are superstars, Parrish, right? And Parrish and DJ and Ainge and everybody. He was coming in there as a former MVP, a player who wanted to be a part of a championship culture, and went in. And before he even practiced, he went to Robert Parrish, went to his house and said, I'm not here to take your spot. I'm not even competing for your spot. I want to be your backup. Former league MVP, wanting to put all that behind him because he is a team player. And listening to Walton and Parrish talk about it, it's fascinating. You have to watch it. Right. So this brings me to your point, talking about, you have guys who have been stars on the Division II level who are here, the Division III level, National Player of the Year that you brought in, right? Nico Galette, all-Met, first team All-NEC. He's going to get his points, but all these guys, will they be willing to accept their roles? Bill Walton accepted his role, was the 6th man of the year, and they won an NBA championship.
And arguably a top 2 or 3 team in the history of the NBA, the 86 Celtics.
Correct.
So, no, that's what it takes. It's that type of selflessness, that type of commitment to winning. Everybody wants to win, but not everybody is willing to do the things that it takes to win. Whether it's the commitment, whether it's the sacrifice, that's a big part of it, and that's going to be a big part of my job, is to get guys to believe in, hey, when we win, we all win. And we've already done that this summer. We've talked to certain guys and said, hey, as far as offensively, shot selection. Nico Galette is going to be the preseason player. He's a wonderful player, outstanding, one of the most special human beings you're ever going to meet. And I said, hey, a bad shot by you is not needed this year because you're going to be on the court at all times with 4 other very good players. 2 of the other 4 may be all league level players. So a bad shot from you is not better than a good shot from these other guys. And I think, and he's really embraced that, and I think other guys are going to need to do that. So that's a big challenge for us. And it's a big challenge for any team, but certainly on our team where we've had other guys, multiple players that have been main guys, either on our team or other teams. So that's going to be a big part of what we do. That's a big part of building relationships with the players. We have some new assistant coaches who are outstanding that have really built some rapport with guys. It happens in those individual meetings as well. One of the things that we tell our guys is from basically the end of the season, so from April to September, it's all about you guys. It's all about the players. What can we do to help you? How can we help you be better? Maybe it's go to another school. Maybe you want to go somewhere where there's a different opportunity. It's all about you. But from September to March, it's got to be about us. Mm-hmm. It's got to be about us if we want to get to where we want to be. So that's a challenge. It's not easy. That's why I admire, and we're not, the Celtics or the Bulls, but some of these great coaches, people talk about Phil Jackson or even Popovich, and they say, well, how hard is it to coach Tim Duncan or Michael Jordan? It's real hard because the other guys, they are pros too. And, Scottie Pippen was pretty good. Tony Parker was pretty good. So I think a couple things that have to happen. One is when you're, especially with the Spurs, when your best player is your hardest worker and coachable, which was the case with the Spurs and the Bulls, it works a lot easier. But also, I think you just have to talk about it. You have to preach it every day, and you have to live it too. The coaches have to sacrifice some things too, egos and things of that nature. So I think it's going to be a big part of what we do because we do think our talent level is where it needs to be. Now we have to perform. Listen, you can't be lousy and win, but we have enough good players. We need guys to buy into the team first, which is, again, that's what we talk about from September to March. And if we do that, there's going to be plenty of accolades to go around. And we couldn't be more excited. We have good veteran guys. We have good high character kids. We have a really likable group that deserves success. And quite frankly, this university deserves success in men's basketball. And we've given them some things to be excited about, but now we have to be giving them some things to be proud about. And that's what, that's a responsibility I take very seriously. I feel very blessed to have worked with some wonderful people in our leadership teams here, and they deserve a champion, and we're going to do everything we can to deliver that.
How hard did you have to recruit your own guys in the off season, coming off some of the years that they had? Sometimes, it's right there. Nico Galette could say, you know what, I'm going to hit the portal. I want to try to take it to the next level. You've seen it time and time again with your players. Quincy McKnight as the prime example, going from here to Seton Hall after the success he had at a young age. So the recruiting that you had to do in the off season to maintain your own players while trying to bring in other players.
It's interesting. So we've been dealing with that since, even the year before Quincy, we lost Kane Broome to Cincinnati, then Quincy to Seton Hall. We lost E.J. Anasicki to Tennessee. We lost Tyler Thomas to Hofstra. So we've been dealing with this for 5 or 6 years now. Kind of before it was like a thing to do. And when it first happened to us, certainly with Kane and Quincy, I don't know if we were as prepared to deal with it. I think we're a little bit more equipped to deal with it. But to answer your question about the recruiting, what you try to do is you try to treat people the right way, with dignity, with respect. You try to coach them hard. You try to make it very clear everything we're doing is for your benefit, to help you be the best player, the best person you can be, and prepare you. And then you let the chips fall as they may. So, as soon as the season's over, we give them about a week, and then I bring everyone in and say, hey, what do you think? Are you thinking coming back or not? I don't even go, we just address it immediately, and then we move from there. Now, sometimes...
You tell them right away, I'm sorry, are you thinking of leaving or coming? You throw that right on the table.
Oh, immediately.
Wow.
Now, again, this was a new thing we've done in the last few years, and because it's better to know at the end of March than in the middle of May.
May, June, it's crazy.
The sooner you know, the sooner you can come up with a plan to mitigate the loss. So, the year before, we lost Tyler Thomas and Aaron Clark to Hofstra and Stony Brook, two all-league guys that both, Tyler had 2 more years and Aaron had 1 more year. And they were great. We had a good enough relationship where I said, hey, what do you think? And they're saying, hey, we're thinking about making a move. Great, because once they say, hey, they want to make a move, 98% of the time, maybe 95% of the time, it's probably going to happen. So you say, hey, how can I help you? Again, now this is the part of year. This is April to September. It's about you.
So there's no talk and what can we
certainly
do to change your mind?
Initial conversation is, well, why?
Okay.
What are you looking for? What is it that you can't get here? And now there's certain things. Hey, listen, here's the reality. There's certain things. If you want to play in a big arena, we don't have a big arena. We can't provide that. If it's about being a pro, well, I can make an argument. And Steph Curry, he just had a recent podcast that he was on saying, hey, if he had gone to Virginia Tech where his dad went or Duke where his brother went, he doesn't know if he would have been a player. So I think you can make the argument staying. Look at the three best guards. Who are the three best guards in the league right now? Steph Curry, Davidson. Not Atlantic 10 Davidson, Southern Conference Davidson. Ja Morant, Murray State, the Ohio Valley, a bottom 10 conference in the country. Weber State, Damian Lillard. You know what I mean? The Big Sky, not a power conference. So I think there's an argument to be made. The guys that stay at this level have a greater chance of success statistically than the guys that transfer up. So we try to make that clear to them, but then we ask them what their goals are. And if the guy makes a mind, we give him a big hug, and we say thank you for what you did. What can we do to help you? Where do you want to go?
You may make a call or two to
100%,
somebody? Okay.
100%. We'll do that. So we address it immediately. We were very fortunate with Nico. Obviously, he would have had, he's a 6'6", 3-4 man who could make threes, who's uber athletic. The thing with Nico, and everybody's different too. Like Nico's an engineer, an engineering major. How many engineering majors are,
Unless you're at Purdue or Georgia Tech.
Not many. There's not many. So he's a special kid. He's such a special kid. He's one of the more unique players I've ever coached because he loves basketball and he's always in the gym, but basketball does not define him. He is so many other things. He's doing a photo shoot right now for admissions because he is not what men's basketball wants our players to be like. He's what Sacred Heart wants their students to be like.
What a great promoter for the school.
I will be eternally grateful. He's graduating this year. For him to stay, with the amount of successes he had, for him to stay for 4 years, says a little bit about what he thinks of this place and a little bit about him as well. So, because I think a lot of the other guys that left really loved it here too, sometimes you have things pulling you in different directions, people and so on and so forth. And when you're, when you're a 19, 20, 21, 22-year-old kid, you listen to those things. And sometimes you look back and you regret it, and sometimes you don't. Quincy's a perfect example. Quincy was a blessing and a curse in a lot of ways. He was a blessing because he was such a great player. He goes to Seton Hall and has tremendous success, individually and as a team. People don't realize how good Quincy McKnight was. He was such a special player. And a lot of people say, well, Quincy did it. And I try to tell people, you're not Quincy McKnight. He's way better than you were, So he sometimes is a little bit of a curse. Now, again, there's nothing to say that if he stayed here, he wouldn't maybe ended up even better, but it did work out great for him. He's one of the stories where it worked out as good as it could work out.
Correct.
And we have a great relationship with Quincy. Quincy actually worked our camp this summer. He's a wonderful kid, and there's nothing I wouldn't do for him. He gave us 2 wonderful years, and we were on the doorstep of going to the NCAA tournament both years he was here, and he was a big part of that.
Right. That's fantastic, and he still comes back here. It says a lot for your ability to eye talent as well.
Well, I think too. I think sometimes, and this is the newest trend, is you got to go somewhere where you're going to get the opportunity right away. I'm not convinced that if Kane or Quincy went to Cincinnati and Seton Hall right out of high school, it would have ended up. They wouldn't have. I don't know if they would have the success at those places where they came here. They were foundational pieces. We had just started. Kane was my first recruiting class. Quincy was our second recruiting class, and we lived with their mistakes. Kane Broom started 2 for 27 from 3 to start his career. Now, he wasn't playing poorly. He just wasn't shooting well. Well, if he was at Cincinnati and he started 2 for 27, I don't know if Mick Cronin would have said, hey, keep shooting. Well, for us, we were building our program at that point. I said, hey, you're our guy. We believe in you. And he ends up having a great year. He ends up shooting 32% from 3 as a freshman after starting 2 for 27.
Right.
So you want to play at the high major level? Come here for 2 years. Show what you can do. You have a better chance of getting, I don't even know if it's called Power 5 anymore with a cross alignment, but a high major level by being great here for 2 or 3 years than out of high school. There's no question.
Especially now with the NIL, these coaches would much rather take a second or third year guy in the transfer portal, transferring once, than take a shot at let's say, the 50th best freshman
No,
a
no.
4-star. I
No.
mean, who would you rather have?
Well, you have a proven guy who's performed at the college level,
Right.
against high major others. Because they'll look. I mean, it's an industry now. Like there's everyone has. We have a guy on our staff that monitors transfers and rates them, and we have formulas, and it's a and for us, I mean, you mentioned for us, we have a Division II and a Division III transfer who are both outstanding players.
And the Division III National Player of the Year.
I mean, these guys are going to be major parts of our program this year. I mean, both guys are certainly in the rotation, if not all league level players.
Wow.
I mean,
Is that a big jump though for either from Westchester or is it Middlebury?
Middlebury, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting. So these two guys are unique. Well, one is Alex Sobel, who's our transfer from Middlebury.
Okay.
He was in the NESCAC, which for people that don't know, that's an elite Division III conference. It's one of, first of all, the schools are academically are some of the best outside of the Ivy League, probably the best schools in the country.
Amherst, Williams,
Wesleyan, Trinity, so academically you're getting real smart, but athletically it's probably a top 5 conference in Division III. So now you have here someone who led the conference in scoring and rebounding and block shots.
6'8".
Yeah, 6'8". He was the defensive player of the year. He was the player of the year, and he was the national player of the year in a great conference. So the jump, although a jump, is not as big of a jump as you would think. I mean, I've said, I have a couple of good friends, Joe Riley being one of them at Wesleyan. His best players by their junior year are productive Division I players. And if you're an all-league player, you can be a good. I mean, and Alex is.
You're talking All-American.
Yeah, I mean, I think he could be an all-league player for us. There's no question about it. I think he's that good. Now, we have a lot of guys that can put the ball in the basket, so maybe statistically, I don't know if he'll have the opportunity, but he's going to get the minutes.
Okay.
And and then when you look at Kyle McGee, who's our transfer from Westchester, he was at Westchester, which is in the PSAC, which is a terrific Division II league. I mean, the top teams in that league would be extremely competitive in the Northeast Conference. So here you have a first-team all-league guy in the PSAC, and he's a graduate student now. He's a graduate there. He's older. He's experienced. He's actually a throwback. He's one of my favorite people I've ever recruited. He's just an old school, we were talking about Terry DeHare, and because he was a St. Anthony's kid. Well, he's a St. Anthony's kid from Jersey City.
Okay.
So and he is a throwback. I mean, he knows about Oliver Walker. And, I mean, everybody knows Bobby Hurley, but this guy's playing pickup with Terry DeHare, and because he was at St. Anthony's for 2 years, and then it closed. St. Anthony's closed, and he had to transfer after his sophomore year. So he is a throwback, knows players, played against guys. He's an experienced guy, and he's had a lot. I mean, he's a very good player on a very good team in Westchester, very good coach. And this guy had both guys practiced this summer, and they're going to be terrific players.
So you saw them with your summer workouts.
Oh,
you saw them in here with your guys, and you're like, okay.
Oh no, there's no question.
You get a good look and say they can compete.
Seamless transition for those two guys, and both guys will figure very prominently into our success. I mean, I think one of the reasons why I think we're going to be better than last year is those two guys. You know what I mean? Those two guys are a big part of it. Now I do think our returning guys are a year better, a year more experienced.
Hopefully healthy.
Two guys that we were counting on just caught a lot of bad breaks injury-wise. So those two guys are getting healthy. You add Kyle, you add Alex, you have a better, more mature Nico. You have a Joey Riley, a Raheem Solomon, a Mike Sixsmith. I mean, we lost Bryce Johnson, which was a loss to graduation, but you bring in Alex, which is we think Bryce averaged 10 and 8 for us. We think Alex certainly is that more than capable of doing that. A little bit different look. So we're excited. We're more mature. We have some additions to the staff that I'm very excited about. Some new blood that I think is going to bring some new energy, some new ideas. So we're really optimistic. It's not going to be easy. People think, you're going to be picked to win the league. We're playing a very tough non-conference schedule.
Yeah, let's talk about the schedule because you're St. John's, Providence, Holy Cross. You're continuing your relationship with Tobin Anderson. And you're playing Iona. So it's challenging.
It's a tough schedule. It's probably a little tougher than I want it to be, but listen.
But when you're good and you have the pieces, that's when you amp up your schedule.
You take a chance, no question. One of the things, like I said, we're an extension of the university and of admissions, and so we want to play universities that have a similar mission than us, that we feel are kind of similar institutions, like a Holy Cross, like Fairfield, like a St. John's, like an Iona. So these are schools that we recruit against for students. So that's part of, our job is to be an extension of the university. And, we do a lot of recruiting on Long Island. So playing St. John's makes sense for us because a lot of our students a lot of our prospective students, not just recruits, basketball recruits, get to see what we're all about. And that's another reason why I take this responsibility so seriously, because if we stink, people immediately associate that with the university. So, but if we're good, we're like, hey, this could be a cool place. Look how good the men's basketball program is. So now, obviously, are they coming just for that? No, but we do all those other things. Hopefully, if we do a good job and play St. John's well, and play Iona, maybe beat Iona, or who knows, people say, hey, this is a cool place. Let's go take a look at the place. And then once they come here, our job is done, and then our wonderful admissions office takes over. And I have said this, and every year, May 1st is like the Super Bowl for admissions. That's when you kind of get your final numbers.
Yeah, it's decision day.
And so I stumbled upon their day one day about 9 years ago, and I've said this many times. We have the best admission staff in the country, and I know people use hyperbole all the time. I mean, the job that they do, the level of excellence that they operate at, our admissions and everyone tangentially associated with them. I mean, when someone comes on this campus, and not that we're perfect for everyone, they never leave here not being impressed with how they're treated, how the hospitality, the level of excellence. So my role in this from the university wide is we got to get people on this campus, because once you get on this campus, you are going to like it. Now, it might not be the school you choose, but you're going to like it. And then once they meet the people, and our people are they do just such a good job. They're so professional. They're so welcoming. People are going to be really excited about it. And I think we're automatically on students' list, and that's why we've done such a good job. So that's a part of our scheduling philosophy, is we want to play some high majors, because all of our guys think they should be there, and let's see how good we are. And heck, if you can knock one of those guys off, maybe it helps, and you get to the NCAA tournament, maybe instead of being a 16, maybe you're a 15 or a 14 if you knock off Providence or St. Joe's or someone like that.
Right.
And then the other schools, you want the home and home games to be against quality institutions like a Dartmouth, like a Holy Cross, like a Fairfield, and so that's what we do. Now, again, those schools are good schools, so they get good players, they got good coaches. So we got a tough schedule. A goal of ours, I think, a good goal at this level is if you can be over 500 going into league play, you've done a very good job.
Oh, without question.
You've done a great job. That's sometimes the deceptive thing is, sometimes teams will go and we happen to be playing 15 non-conference games this year because we're playing in an MTE. And some people are sitting at 5 and 10. Everyone's like, what's wrong with Sacred Heart? Well, we played Providence, we played St. Joe's, we played Iona, we played St. John's. Those are hard games. All four of those teams would be picked to win the Northeast Conference, would win the Northeast Conference. So we're playing on the road, by the way. All those games are on the road. So we're playing teams that would be picked above us on the road. Those are hard games to win. And then, hey, not for nothing, Holy Cross pretty good. He's got a brand new coach. He's terrific. Going to Holy Cross. Are we favored in that game? I don't know. I mean, maybe because we're older, but not by a lot. So, those are hard games to win. So those guarantee games are automatically on the road, and now your other games are split between home and road. So you're playing a lot more road games against really good teams. So I think a big challenge at this level, and I learned it after my first year, was, I was down in the dumps because we were I think we were 4-9 non-conference, and I'm like, oh my God, we're awful. And I was just such a young coach thinking, well, wait a minute, I don't know how many of these games that we lost we were supposed to win with where our roster was. So I think part of that is, can you get out of non-conference play with some confidence, with some wins, some confidence, and guys feeling good about themselves, and healthy, of course, and playing your best basketball going into conference play. But there's a big mental aspect of it. If we're playing 15 games, if we're 5 and 10, we're going to have some work to do to get these guys to be confident, to be like, hey, we're better than 5 and 10. Once we get in the league play. So now hopefully we don't do that. Hopefully we can, surprise some people and be over 500 going into conference play. And if we do that, that's generally a very good sign. Now, no guarantee either, because we've had plenty of teams in our league play real well in non-conference play, and then it could also hurt you. You might think you're better than you are as well. And now you're like, hey, teams in the league can play too now. If you don't, Merrimack didn't win a Division I non-conference game last year, and they ran roughshod through the league in January and February. Part of that is they were good. They had a great coach, and so he did a great job of rallying troops. But what he's a good friend. I told him that was his best coaching job you could do because his team was down in the dumps, and to get them to turn around and then start winning a couple close games, and all of a sudden, and again they had good players too, but it's a tricky thing at this level, to kind of regroup and rally the troops when the non-conference play didn't go quite as well as people would have hoped. Now again, we're probably going to be picked to win the league by most people. So if we are sitting at 5-10, 6-9, I think a lot of people are going to be asking questions, and players aren't immune to it. People are going to be, hey, what's wrong with you guys? You know what I mean? And
people who know the Northeast Conference know that you're going to be battle tested.
Of course, yeah.
And there are teams that end up the year. Last year I think you might have been one game under 500 or one game over.
Yeah.
But you're right there with the best teams in the league.
No question.
You beat Merrimack. You beat FDU twice. Who beat Purdue? We could play that game.
No question. So
and the conference is better.
Yeah. No,
the conference, is no matter what the rankings say, these teams can play.
And there's good coaches, and listen, they have guys on scholarship too.
Right.
So it's, and they're trying to win too. So it's scheduling is one of the most important things we do, and then managing that schedule and that's a big part of coaching and is managing egos, but managing confidence too. We're all very fragile. I remember, you look at these established coaches. I mean, Jim Calhoun is one of the, arguably one of the 5 greatest coaches in history.
He's on my Mount Rushmore, yeah.
And when you talk about him, this guy would get nervous as heck before games. Guys, all he does is win. And I remember Coach D telling us a story when they were playing Northeastern. They were playing Northeastern, and Dave Lato was at Northeastern, and Ray Allen was hurt or something, and Coach Calhoun was so nervous, and they were the 5th-ranked team in the country, and Northeastern was just okay that year, but it's so there's a little bit of a mental game that you have to. There's a psychological warfare that coaches go through, and I don't care how established you are, everyone's confidence is fragile, and you always think if you've gotten to the mountaintop, which we haven't yet. You always say, can we do it again? And if you haven't gotten there, can we ever get there?
Right.
So you're always playing these games with yourself, and that's the challenge. And the best coaches are the ones that can not only manage it themselves, but then kind of convey that confidence to their players. So our schedule is exciting. We have some really good players. Again, we've talked about Alex and Kyle coming in. We had Nico Galette, arguably the preseason player. I think he has to be the preseason player because he's the only first-team all-leaguer who's returning.
I think that's I think that's safe to say.
You have Joey Riley, who had an outstanding year for us. Joey's
another all-team player, all-league player.
And Mike Sixsmith, who's had moments of greatness, and he could emerge. Raheem Solomon, who's a double-figure scorer for us, had a great summer for us. He's coming off a year where he didn't play or practice for a whole year because of an injury, and he still averaged double figures, so he could take the next step. Aiden Carpenter, who was hurt, hopefully he can emerge as a good player for us. Brendan McGuire, I mean, Brendan played in 15 games. The last 2 he played and hurt. So the first 13 games. The last 2 he played injured. He shouldn't even play. The first 11 games that he played, we were 8-3 when he played. A healthy Brendan McGuire is 8-3. That's if you work that out, that's 24-9. That's a heck of a year. Where do I sign up for 24-9 right now? You know what I mean? So, a healthy Brendan McGuire makes everybody better because he's such an elite passer. So do we have a healthy, Brendan McGuire? And so Tanner Thomas, who had a wonderful conference play for us. So if you look at his conference stats, I think he's one of the more underrated players in the league. Wonderful kid, hard worker. I mean, he's an interesting player because, and he was a player that went in the portal, and we kind of talked about it and, decided to come back, and I'm thrilled to death. He's a wonderful kid, hard worker, is what everything we want to be about. Didn't play a ton as a freshman, played a little bit more, and I think he can really emerge as a special player for us. So, and he really came on at the end. So I'm really excited about our team, the character of our guys, their work habits. Again, who you are is what you do every day, but it's not going to be easy. There's going to be ups and downs. I mean, look at the University of Connecticut. what a great year they had. I mean,
Right.
phenomenal. I mean,
Finished 5th in the Big East.
5th in the East. And there was a stretch where I think they lost 5 out of 6.
Exactly.
The national champions. So if that happened to them, it can happen to anybody. That's
Right.
going to happen to us. We're not UConn. We're not, I'm not Daniel Early. Like, that's going to happen to us. How do we deal with that? How do we regroup? I mean, look at what UConn did. They regrouped, and they didn't win the Big East tournament, but they got it going, and they played at a level
Right.
in the NCAA tournament that was one of the more underrated runs in NCAA history.
I will say most dominant runs.
I can
without
never
question.
remember.
Without question. I mean, Iona gave them their toughest game, Coach.
There's no question. You
know?
And actually it was funny because Rick Pitino had said that. He said the first half against UConn was the best half of basketball by far all year. And, sometimes coaches say that, but it.
1-point game, I believe it was. I think it was like 39-38.
I actually think that Iona was up at that
Yeah,
half.
I think they were up 1.
So this is probably as much excitement and enthusiasm as I think our campus has had about our program in a while. I know I'm as motivated, as excited, and as committed to bringing a champion to this place. I think gratitude is in very short supply, but not from me. I am so grateful that the opportunity I was given here, and I feel like I owe it to this university, these people. So it's one of the biggest motivating factors for me is to give the people that have been loyal and have trusted me to give them a champion, and I have not been able to do that. And so it's time for us to do that. So I'm as focused as I've ever been. I think we are meeting as a staff on a daily basis now. I think our staff is as focused as we've ever been, and we're ready to roll. And this is it's not going to be a perfect year, but it's going to be a special year, and hopefully we make it real special for everyone.
Anthony, it's been special being here on campus with you. I want to thank you for the time and all the insight into your program. You've built this program. You've taken the baton from Dave Bike, the legendary coach here, and I'm sure he's very proud of what you've built here. And listen, championships don't define you as a person, but obviously you're in this to win it.
Yeah, no
And with hard work, perseverance, a little luck, the team gels at the right time. Hopefully your time is this year and sooner rather than later. So it's been a pleasure.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Anthony. It has been a pleasure being here, back to school, back on campus at Sacred Heart University. This is the Tri-State College Basketball Podcast. You can get this podcast anywhere where you get your podcast, on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and also now we have it on YouTube. So if you want to check out my site, Bryan DeNovellis, search that on youtube.com, and you can see the full interview right here in person on the campus of Sacred Heart University. We hope to continue this series throughout the rest of August and into September as students get back to campus, student athletes get back to campus, and we, right here on the Tri-State College Basketball Podcast, get back to campus as well. My name is Bryan DeNovellis. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time right here on the Tri-State College Basketball Podcast.